Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Podcast, Marketplace Edition. Today with Tom West. He's founder at RentMy. Tom, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about RentMy.
Hi, I'm Tom from RentMy. Thanks for having me, Charles. RentMy is a share anything app where you can rent your bike, your car, your house, all in one location. And we provide micro policies of insurance to make sure that you're covered and you're safe during your rental.
Love it. So yeah, it's one of the best ideas out there. Like, yeah, obviously people that use the Airbnbs were like, why isn't there something for anything? You know, if I want to rent this camera, if I want to rent these boxing gloves, if I want to rent this fancy suit, for example. So what's the challenge of being that wide and not being like that focused on one niche?
Well, I think it goes back to the sort of the grocery market. If you think back to how groceries ended up in supermarkets and then hypermarkets that they have now, it's the natural progression to move from one particular niche into the larger markets. And Airbnb made such a success of property that actually they created their own competition, and channel managers popped up left, right, and center that would run and control the various different opportunities for you to market your property. So your property could end up on Verbo, on Booking.com, etc., and Airbnb. So they basically created their own success and their own problems in doing so, just delivering their competition. So RentMy centralizes that, makes it one location, and you can basically rent property, your tools, your bike, everything, and so inventory management becomes the main focus of what we do. But trying to get that started, trying to get that kick started, we need to focus on particular categories. And so we focus on our marketing on the sort of tools and the one-off items that you would only rent over purchasing and storing for a long time and only using once or twice. So it's very much a focus on building supply side at the moment.
Right. The supply side being having people list, for example, their cameras on the platform. Why are you starting with, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious why you're starting for the supply side, is that if you bring like the demand and there's not a lot of options on the website, yeah, they won't stay for sure. So how do you get more suppliers in there? It seems that there's a lot of electronics, technology, cameras in there. Do you just post that on Facebook and be like, make money with your GoPro?
In essence, yeah. You need to show them that it's happening, but also they want trust, and they need trust in your platform. They need trust in your product. They need trust in what you're doing. So making sure that there's the right level of insurance is key, and something that's been missing from the sharing economy for mass adoption. Everyone's seen these ideas floating around for a while, and there's nothing really sort of taken off that's gone, this is the secret sauce. And really, I think the secret sauce, and our research shows, and our customer base shows that the secret sauce is insurance. And I never thought the secret sauce would be something so boring as insurance, but apparently it is.
So what's the protection guarantee? Let's say that I rent, well, let's start with the basic. Okay. So if I rent my $750 GoPro, let's call it $50 a day. How much do I make off this 50 and how much do you make? And then what's my protection if they scratch it or even worse, lose it or steal it?
Yeah, no worries. Well, we verify every customer, so we should have the ability to be able to keep track of the person renting the item. But if the rental is $50 a day, we're taking $10 of that, and we're putting towards roughly about £5 or $5 towards the insurance. And the insurance itself is essentially is your traditional insurance. It says that Charles is renting his camera to GoPro to Tom for these dates. This is its approximate value. This is its replacement value. And if it were to go missing and we can't get it back, our job is to treat you as quickly as possible as a good customer, to get you back on your feet and get our hands on a camera for you. And so we work on how that replacement works. There's potential later down the line to add premium features to that for a new for old replacement, but initially it's a like for like replacement is what they look for. So they give you a cash value to go and buy a new camera.
Right. So let's call it that out of the $50 a day that I rent it, I make like $30, right? Or something like that.
40.
40. Okay. So five
Yeah.
for the insurance, five for you, and 40 for me.
10 for us, 5 for the insurer, but that goes on top. So
Okay.
the renter would need to pay an additional $5,
All right. So
just
35,
in general.
which is
Yeah.
pretty good. Say that I paid the camera 700, 58. I mean, I wouldn't rent it every day of the month, but who knows? There might be longer rents. Let's call it that I would rent it 10 days a month, 1 day out of three per month. That means that I would repay my camera in 2 months from now. Now, would I get it intact? Would I get it stolen? I mean, I get it repaid by the insurance. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me. And I guess I wouldn't even use the camera myself. I just start a business of renting my GoPros and trying to scale that. Are there people trying to do that, like starting their business
Yeah.
of renting equipment?
Yeah, definitely. You get micro entrepreneurs that very similar to eBay when eBay started, that start selling small items and grow that and start making a business out of it. And it's the same thing with rentals. Is we see people buying items specifically, either of higher quality or better value, so that people don't necessarily want to own or don't necessarily want to have stored in their house. So there's a value that they can add, and they can see their service improving. And so you see brands then popping up. So people's names then change from their name to their brand.
So am I in charge of delivering the GoPro to the person physically? Or how does that get handled?
Today, there isn't a network that we're working with that will be in a position to make that transaction, but we have already started conversations about both delivery and using storage facilities so that people can drop stuff off, make it super convenient. Because there's nothing worse than waiting around for someone who says they're going to turn up at one time to collect something and they don't turn up for hours on end. So you don't want that in your life. You want to to make it as convenient and super easy as possible. Previous models like Omni, where they used to rent your stuff, you used to basically pay for them to put your stuff into storage, and then they would offset the cost of that by renting out your stuff whilst it was in storage. And then whenever you wanted your items, you could have them brought to you. There's businesses like that there's an opportunity for relationships or to reignite some of those types of old businesses. But today, we need to just build our market and focus on that market, and that's the key is keeping it focused right now.
Okay, so the person pays me online, right? And I ship my GoPro to them.
Normally, it's a bit like an Airbnb. The renter or the person staying at the location and the location have to be in the same place, and so it's very similar. Is that you would only really rent to someone local to you or someone coming to the area.
Right, and they come to me to get the item.
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay.
So if it was a surfboard and you live by the beach, it'd be perfect. You'd sort of hand them the board. And, yeah.
So I'm in charge of deleting the archives that they filmed so that the next customer can have a clean GoPro.
I assume that if they haven't deleted it, yeah, definitely.
Interesting. I like it.
Surely
Have
they
you
would just
to
use their own. Surely they just use their own memory card.
right as well.
Possibly, you
Don't
never know.
don't you think it would be better to just like focus in electronics at first? Is that what you're doing? Like, because if you go in all directions, I mean, it's kind of dilution and you might lose out energy and traction there. So are you focusing on some specific niches before you expand to others? Or you just like free
Yes,
for all, list whatever you want in there?
no, we do have a focus. We have a focus from a social marketing point of view, and we're seeing results in those particular niche areas. We recently bought Parent, which is a parental marketplace for renting out items, and that's been very successful for us to both learn how that focus affects the market, but also the benefits of that marketplace, and what we can do to improve their experience and their engagement platform.
When do you think the supply side will be big enough for you to focus on the demand side? What are the numbers there?
I think it becomes regionalized, but that's the beauty of the internet is we can really focus in very small markets and make sure that our marketing and advertising on social media and browsing is all focused in a particular area. So if we want to hit London, we hit London, and we don't have to hit the suburbs. If we want to hit Scotland, we hit Scotland, and you can you can really find some smaller markets that are very much like-minded and want to be going through this route. I think that once we sort of start getting to I don't know 15 to 20,000 concurrent users, I think that that's when we really start to move the needle quite considerably, and we'll be much further down the line. That sort of thing we'll probably have integrated channel managers working on different markets, because we already have several partnerships in the offing that will allow us to integrate other offerings of product types. So we don't necessarily have to build each market. We can partner as well, and we can ingest their data and work with those partners to help them grow their markets too.
Right. Tell us about like interesting items you've seen being rented, or like signs of innovation. What is cool out there that people have been renting and that you've seen lots of traction with daily?
In terms of daily transactions, actually the parent stuff seems to be quite interesting. It seems to be things like bouncy castles, ball pools, items that are fairly easy to move, that you can drive around and pick up, but that you probably don't necessarily want to store, because your kids will have it out all the time, and they're quite bulky items. In our region, we see a lot of water sports and water sports goods, so paddle boards, kayaks, etc. They're all very popular, and they get pretty good rentals. And what we also see is when individuals list or share their items on their social media channels, we see bookings pretty much follow those up quite quickly. So we encouraging our owners that have listed items to take on that micro entrepreneurship and just take a bit of ownership for it and go, hey, I've got this item, why don't you rent it? It goes a long way, and it leads to bookings quite quickly.
Interesting. Why don't you take the insurance side in your own hands? I mean, that's $5 out of every transaction. Don't you think you could factor in that cost to the business? That's what you've done?
Exactly what we've done. It's exactly what we've done. We've just signed I can't tell you the insurer today.
Wow.
It's not been announced. But yes, we have signed a 5-year deal with a major insurer that allows us to sell insurance per transaction. We earn a commission on each transaction.
Wow.
But the reason it needs to be with a named insurer is because of the size of the risk. When it's great thinking about your small cameras and everything, but when we start thinking bigger and we start thinking about camper vans, cars, trailers, large tools, things like that cost thousands, tens of thousands, there's too much risk there. And so having policy agreements that work, and obviously don't just cost £5, they cost according to the item. That's where the value comes in. So we're integrating with a third party that provides us pricing software. And that will then give us real-time pricing so that you can check out and pay for your insurance and have a very clear agreement that says what the item value is and what you're protected for.
So you started in 2020. Like, how much users do you have nowadays, and how much daily transactions?
So we started the process again in 2020. I wrote the original business plan in 2006. And we launched the software in 2020, in late 2022, so October 22. We launched a scalable version of the software. So we've been going for just over 9 months now, in the current format, and we have just over 7,500 users, and we pretty much get 1 to 2 transactions a day now. They're quite low value today, but they're growing at quite a rate. The thing about marketplaces versus lots of other startups out there at the moment is AI and other forms of innovation are going to start stealing jobs and making things far smoother, which is fantastic for development. But we as a society are still going to want to trade. and marketplaces are massively undervalued in what they provide, both as a community and as an asset to a community. So whether it's a rental community, whether it's a marketplace that Facebook has, whether it's eBay, where you bid on items and it slowly goes up, or other types of marketplaces that are out there, Etsy, because you want something handmade. There's there's a marketplace for everything, and there should be a marketplace for everything. And it's really important that all of these marketplaces continue to exist and aren't taken over by AI. And I can't see that happening because trade is something that we do. It's not something that we can necessarily set AI to go and do for us. It's all about taste or desire. So quite important.
Right. You're looking for investors right now. Like, how much are you looking for, and what would be the deal and the attractiveness of the deal for the investor?
So we're just closing our pre-seed round. We've raised £502,000 of our £700,000 round, and we're looking to close the last £200,000 this month, if not early next month. The pre-money valuation is a £5 million pre-money valuation, and we've mostly focused on angels for this round. And as we hit 10,000 users and we start seeing more and more transactions, we'll be taking that value that we've created to our seed round and looking to secure a seed that will allow us to really grow this market and get ourselves right up there.
Right. An investor investing in a marketplace companies, what do they need to know? Like, do you want only investors that have invested in these marketplace companies? What kind of growth could they expect over the next couple of years?
Growth over the next couple of years can honestly be exponential. That is something that is very much open to the market at the moment. Raising at the moment is also very difficult. So, you know, we're balancing we're walking the very fine wire of how much money do we raise, and how long is our runway, and what do we need? And they are things that are very much in the balance. Inflationary pressures have made development costs go up, and other costs increase. At the same time, AI is going to be making them it's going to reduce them. So there's a sort of catch-22 about what the future holds and what the opportunity is. In terms of physical investors and their knowledge and markets, investors that have a knowledge in marketplaces, marketplace growth. We already have several of those on board. The more the merrier. It really does help us have insight. But reading one person's success sometimes is one person telling me their lottery numbers that they won the lottery with. There's lots of founders out there that offer a lot of success and a lot of routes to success, and there's lots of learnings that can be taken from them. But not everyone can win the lottery the same way. So you have to figure out which way you're going to win the lottery so that you can be successful.
Right. Blas, what would be your advice for founders that are starting? You like to talk about side hustles, typically speaking. So what would be the advice here?
Well, in any of my businesses, I always focus on ways that you can add value without adding cost. So always think about how you can add value without adding cost to your user, and how you can get your product to be the best product it can be for the least amount of money it can be as well. They are majorly your focuses. So don't add too much cost to your business. Keep it super simple, and get it ready so that you can really start flying nice and quickly.
Nice. Where can people find out more about you, Tom?
Hey, just jump on rentmy.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn. And I'm Tom West on LinkedIn, Tiny Town Tom.